In October 2021, 42-year-old cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was on the set shooting a movie for Alec Baldwin, who is also a renowned actor. Now, this movie was titled Rust, and it was being shot in the New Mexico desert. But unfortunately, one of the prop guns had a live bullet in it, and in the course of the practicing camera angles, a shot rang from this gun, and unfortunately it killed Halyna Hutchins and also injured the director of the movie called Joel Souza. Now, this happened in 2001 October, and it took some time. Initially, there was a sort of settlement between Alec Baldwin and the family of the deceased. It seemed like the whole thing had died down and they were actually getting ready to finish this movie and move on in a way. But recently, just as of this Thursday, the 19th of January, 2023, the district attorney of Santa Fe has decided that her office is going to charge Alec Baldwin over this shooting, and the charge is going to be based on involuntary manslaughter. It's actually going to be 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and the charge is going to be brought against Alec Baldwin and another person. This changes the hallmark of the movie industry and could also end up changing the life of Alec Baldwin if found guilty. Today's true crime story is going to get into the details of what the outcome could be and what its implications would mean for Alec Baldwin and other people in the industry, as well as the family of the victim. If you are ready for this true crime story, please buckle up and let's go. Now, actor Alec Baldwin might face up to 5 years in prison if the charges to be brought against him over the fatal shooting on the set of his movie Rust are successful. Now, his lawyer has tagged this attempt by the district attorney to prosecute Alec Baldwin as a terrible miscarriage of justice. For those of you who might not be aware, just to recount, cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, 42, was killed, and a director called Joel Souza was also wounded in October 2021 when a gun Baldwin was using during a rehearsal for the Western movie in the New Mexico desert fired off a live bullet. So when this occurred, the movie was actually put on hold, and it was a whole thing because obviously a life had been lost, and there were implications to that because it's not expected that a live round will be shot on a movie set. There are actually protocols in place that was aimed or should have prevented this from even happening in the first place. Now, Santa Fe prosecutors announced on Thursday that both Baldwin and another person called Gutierrez-Reed, the film's 24-year-old armorer, who was tasked with overseeing the handling of weapons, would be charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Now, the prosecutors said that the actor, who has vowed to fight the charges, had a duty to actually ensure the gun and the bullets were properly checked, and that he should never have pointed it at anyone if he knew these checks had not been done. According to them, I quote, "You should not point a gun at someone that you are not willing to shoot." So it's going to be a dicey case actually. And in New Mexico, involuntary manslaughter carries a maximum sentence of 18 months in prison and a $5,000 fine. The second charge is involuntary manslaughter in the commission of a lawful act, which requires proof that there was more than simple negligence and that it carries a mandatory penalty of 5 years in prison. Now, if convicted of the latter, the sentences would most likely be merged. The film's first assistant director, David Halls, has agreed to plead guilty to the charge of the negligent use of a deadly weapon. Both Mr. Halls and Miss Gutierrez-Reed handled the gun before it was given to Baldwin for the rehearsal, in which the actor was practicing pulling out the revolver. It's alleged that he was doing this with the deceased to sort of get their camera angles right and make the movie dazzling. Now, Baldwin, however, denied responsibility for the Ukrainian-born cinematographer's death. Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere on the movie set. This is what his attorney is saying. So they are literally pleading that they were not aware and they were not in a position to know. And his lawyer would base on this to indicate that the decision by the DA is a terrible miscarriage of justice. His lawyer also went on to say that Alec Baldwin relied on the professionals with whom he worked, who had assured him the gun did not have live rounds, and that he was going to fight these charges and he's sure they were going to win. However, District Attorney Carmack Outways said the charges brought against the award-winning star showed no one is above the law and everyone deserves justice. And I agree to this. It doesn't matter who you are not above the law, and it doesn't matter who it was, a victim deserves justice. Now, she said the state would send out a court summons in the coming weeks, but that a warrant would not be issued for Alec Baldwin's arrest. So they are going to treat this from this angle. Now, if any one of these three people, that is Alec Baldwin, Halyna Gutierrez-Reed, or David Halls, had done their job, Halyna Hutchins would be alive today. It's that simple. Now, this is a quote from the special prosecutor, Andrea Reeb, when she was speaking on this issue. Now, the views are split on this. Some agree with this angle. Some also, in a way, think that Alec Baldwin couldn't have known. But I'm sure that's why the legal justice system would outline what should have been the standard. Now, she went on to say the evidence clearly shows a pattern of criminal disregard for safety on the Rust film set. In New Mexico, there is no room for film sets that don't take our state's commitment to gun safety and public safety seriously. She went on again to say that Miss Hutchins' family welcomed the news on Thursday. Matthew Hutchins, her husband and father of her child, said, "It is a comfort that in New Mexico, no one is above the law. We support the charges." Now, Mr. Baldwin, who is 64 years old and was also a producer on the film, has said he believed the gun was not loaded with live rounds, and was what in the film world is called a cold gun, meaning that it carried blanks and could not hurt anyone. New Mexico's medical examiner has ruled the shooting as an accident. So, like I was saying, you see that there are two angles to this. There are actually outcomes showing it's an accident, and then there's the legal aspect of it where a tussle will try to prove that it was actually negligence on the part of the actor and some key members of his set. Now, the actor told ABC News in 2001 that he did not pull the trigger of the replica Pieta 45 caliber long Colt revolver, and it fired after he cocked it while rehearsing camera angles with Miss Hutchins. An FBI forensic test of the single action revolver, however, found it functioned normally and would not fire without the trigger being pulled. So this sort of goes to debunk what Alec Baldwin had told ABC News in 2001. So prosecutors have pushed back against criticism of why they had to delay for 15 months before making a decision to prosecute. Like I told you, remember this happened in October of 2021 and we are in January 2023. And now prosecutors have made that decision to prosecute. So they said that they were forced to wait for reports from both the FBI and the local Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, and that took about a year. Ms. Hutchins' family settled a wrongful death lawsuit against Baldwin and other producers last year. That was 2022, and under the agreement, filming on the low-budget movie set is set to resume this month, with Matthew Hutchins, the husband of the deceased, now serving as an executive producer. So if the case goes to trial, there are few precedents for a major star being charged in the shooting death of a colleague during production of a movie. The attention would likely be enormous, particularly since the shooting happened away from Hollywood. So now let's look at some of the precedents. In 1980 or in the 80s, a director called John Landis and 4 associates were acquitted of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the deaths of actor Vic Morrow and 2 children during the filming of Twilight Zone, the movie. The trial lasted for 10 months and gained global attention. Now, some of the jurors said they were not dazzled by figures from the film industry since they lived in Los Angeles. Rather, they told the New York Times at the time that prosecutors had not been able to prove that anyone could have foreseen the crash of the helicopter which killed these people. So they made it clear, even in the 80s, the jurors indicated that their decision was not based on they being dazzled or overwhelmed by the celebrity status of the actors being accused, but rather the prosecutors were not able to prove that anyone could have foreseen the crash of the helicopter. Bringing it back to this case at hand, Baldwin has been a major film star and TV star for decades. He has won Emmys for TV's 30 Rock and an Oscar nomination for The Cooler. He has also starred in Working Girl, Beetlejuice, and The Hunt for Red October and on Broadway. In addition, he is known publicly for advocating for liberal political causes. All these being outlined, it makes sense to anticipate that prosecutors will have to overcome significant challenges, including not knowing how live rounds got on set and experts' varying opinions about the on-set responsibilities of actors and crew members. And this was coming from a senior legal analyst. And like we know, this is a criminal case, and as such, it will require all the 12 jurors to find guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So this is not to say that Alec Baldwin is definitely going to be victorious in this case, but it looks like, looking at these things I've outlined, it looks like he has some things working in his advantage, and the prosecution would have a daunting task on their hands. But I also believe that before the prosecution came out to decide they were going to go to court on this, they would have also done their homework, and they most likely have some big guns also in their advantage with regards to the facts of the issue and evidence to corroborate same. We look forward to how this will pan out, but we at True Crimes Cafe express our condolences to the family of Halyna Hutchins. It's been almost 2 years, and we hope they have the strength to move on from this and even go through this trial that may come up, because it's going to dredge up all these things again, not to talk of the trauma it's most likely to put her kid in. We pray for strength for them. and we pray that the justice system tilts in the right direction. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, hey, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate the support so much. And like I've been saying, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you find yourself, keep an eye out and stay safe. We'll catch you next time.